Shame me for being an unmarried mother in front of my kids, I'll show you how much of a sham your marriage is. My next door neighbors have rubbed me the wrong way ever since I moved here 3 years ago. The husband, let's call him Mike, struck me as a little sleazy, and the wife, we'll call her Sharon, seemed nosy and judgmental as hell. But I know myself, I know I'm quick to judge and get stuck in a certain opinion of people. My daughter is about the same age as theirs, and let's call her Maria, and she has a bit of trouble making friends, so when Sharon suggested they have weekly play dates, alternating between their house and mine, I put my dislike of her aside and agreed. It all seemed to be going fine for a while, but my daughter eventually seemed less enthusiastic about going over to their place. I talked to her about it, and she admitted she didn't like Sharon. Apparently Sharon had been watching them play and directing them on how to play, and she often interrupted to ask my daughter intrusive questions about our family, especially about my kid's paternity. My daughter is a picky eater, so to start with I would send her over with snacks I know she can eat in case there was nothing there she could eat. My daughter had told me she didn't need those snacks because they had food there she could eat, but it turns out Sharon had told her she was being rude for bringing her own food to someone else's house, and if she wanted to eat, she had to eat what Sharon gave her, so of course she just didn't eat there. On top of that, Sharon would invite my daughter to Sunday school every time and had gotten very pushy, even though she consistently said no. My daughter still wanted to play with Maria, so we decided the playdates could continue, but only if they were at our place. I made my excuses to Sharon, and initially she agreed to only have play dates at my house. But when Sharon and Maria showed up, they both came inside instead of Sharon leaving Maria at the door as usual. In front of her daughter, my daughter, and my son, Sharon said they'd been praying about it as a family and God had guided them and told them not to leave their daughter with an unmarried mother because apparently it shows I can't make good choices and they're worried I would influence her to make poor decisions with her life and stray from her faith. And then they left. So, I was right about Sharon being nosy and judgmental. I decided to find out if I was right about Mike. I made accounts on Instagram and Facebook posing as an attractive young lady with lots of somewhat local friends. I followed him on Instagram, he followed back. He immediately messaged me, and the messages quickly went from vaguely flirty to obviously trying to get some. I then took screenshots of the messages and sent them to Sharon in a Facebook message. I didn't get a response, but I did see Mike storming out of the house with a small suitcase and driving off rather recklessly. He did come back a couple of days later, so I haven't destroyed their marriage or anything, but I definitely put a dent in it. Totally adjacent from topic. So I had an old work manager that was getting ready to start a head shop and go through all the legalities, including all the city council meetings and the state and federal legislature. And had followed all the rules and was setting up his retirement for him, his wife and his family. Suddenly, after everything had passed and they were about to open a week away, a local church decided they had a problem, even though they had a public voice the entire time and never chose to exercise it. So straight up this dude went to public records on trial court and pulled all of their domestic violence, assaults, thefts, and basic low human debauchery and put it on public blast. Suddenly all their inward fighting took precedence over closing down his retirement plan. My dad used to say that the harder they pound on their chest, the better the dirt. Didn't believe him when I was a kid, but boy was he proven right over and over again. Your neighbors are a classic example of what my dad meant. It's like the Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, the louder he spoke of his honor, the faster we counted our spoons at it. Wow, I never got an award before and I get it for a quote I found painted on the wall of my nearest pub. Thanks. Kind Redditor. What the fuck does this mean? A lot of dinnerware was silver at the time, and shady people would steal it when they came by the house. He's saying that anyone who promises they're totally a stand-up guy is probably the type to steal silver from someone's house. Like those thieving Sackville Bagginses. They got theirs in the end, huh? Honestly, one of my favorite parts of Lotra is reading about the Sackville Bagginses' disappointment even after they got what they wanted. Could you elaborate a little bit? Something is going on in my life and the chest pounding is pretty hard. I am suspect. Projection. When people have a lot of skeletons in their closet, they are very worried about people finding out about their secrets and issues. There are a lot of coping methods to deal with that anxiety. One of the more obvious and unhealthy methods is to try and start shit with the people around them. Basically, they're trying to sniff out other people's problems and to create problems, exaggerated or not, in order to either A. Make themselves feel better about their problems, B. Give themselves a perceived leverage superiority over those who are close enough socially that they feel threatened by them, or C. Both. Methinks they doth protest too much. It's similar to how most people who go to private detectives to catch their spouse cheating are themselves cheating. It's a weird human quirk from how our older brain systems confuse normal for us and normal for all. We think that's what others do normally because that's what we do normally. But isn't that the super common the bad thing I am doing, I am blaming others for? Every idiot from schoolyard queue jumpers to leaders of X superpowers seem to be doing it. It's not so much that others are at fault for my wrongdoing, it is, but that's not all. For a lot of people, as an example, that are compulsive liars, they assume everyone else is the same. Because they are lying constantly, either to look like a nice person, or to have something interesting to talk about, or they love to gossip and feel like there is always something, drama, going on, they also assume everyone else does the same. In a lot of ways, we project a lot of our insecurities onto others. Someone that's constantly lying will assume everyone else does. Someone that constantly cheats will also assume that cheating is a very common thing. Someone who doesn't lie will assume most people are honest. My mom was a single teenage mother in the South. She was amazing, but I know she put up with a ton of shit I didn't quite understand as a kid. Like friends whose parents only let me sleep over on Saturday nights or wouldn't let their kids sleep over at my house. She was young and quite attractive too when I was a kid. She was a waitress, so sometimes she would wear shorts a little bit shorter for better tips lol. She'd pick me up from school and I know she got dirty looks. I know now that parents and even teachers gave her a ton of shit, but she never let it get to her and always made sure I had a fun and happy childhood. I didn't realize till I was older just how messed up certain things really were, and I wish I had been able to stand up for her then. Does she know all this? Maybe you could let her know, if your relationship allows for it. Obviously I don't know either of you, you know better, feel free to ignore me. Oh, yeah, she definitely knows. We went through some rough patches, just really bad teenage angst and having depression, anxiety, other mental health issues, so there were some years when I was a teenager young adult that were difficult lol. We always loved each other and I've always known she loves me and has my back, but you know, teenage girl shit. We go through that phase of ugh my mom is the worst. How dare she set appropriate boundaries and expectations of me lol the audacity, but now that I'm older, we are much closer and have a great relationship. She definitely knows. I've told her lol. Apologized for the time the moms on my softball team gave her the wrong info about the teen party at a park because they were jealous old hags, afraid their husbands would be seduced away by the young and pretty single mom lol. As if she'd have any interest in them to begin with. Dollar bill y'all. So I'm at the dollar store today. I don't know where you all live, but around here the few stores are notoriously understaffed. It isn't rare to have lines 10 people deep, with the cashiers struggling to move as fast as they can. I'm pretty patient as I work in a similar field and always give myself extra time when I go shop there. So the line is backed up halfway down the snack aisle. I'm number 3 in line to check out. The lady, 6th in line, with her 5-year-old kid gets frustrated and starts getting aggressively loud, not quite yelling, but loud enough most of the store can hear. Aggressive lady, Al. You need to open a second register, you move too slow. This store always does this. Open a second register. The poor cashier keeps her head down and tries moving faster, but it's not helping. Al. You all need to say something. Speak up. They always do this. Open a second register. People in line are uncomfortable and shifting around, but no one says anything to her while she complains openly with her kid in tow. Under his breath the guy behind me says, "What do you want her to do? Shut down this register and move to the other one?" Which draws some snickers from the crowd. Al. This is bullshit, you're bullshit. Don't talk to me with my kid. This dollar store sucks, what? She drags her kid up to the next door, closed register line, and slams her hand on the conveyor belt and goes, "Open this register, open the second register." During this the manager has come out of the back and watched the commotion. He walks over to the register she's at and flips on the light. MGR. I can help the next customer. Al dumps all her stuff on the belt. MGR. Ma'am, I said I can help the next customer. Sir. And he gestures to me to come over as the person in front of me was now being helped by cashier 1. Al. I'm right here. I'm first. MGR. No ma'am, he was before you. You cut the line. Sir. I can help you right here. Ma'am, can you please remove your things from the belt? Al. Shocked Pikachu face. Kid starts to cry. She, aggressively, smashes all her things back in her basket and goes back to her former 6th place in line, now 5th or whatever. MGR. Ma'am? I've already told you no one is allowed to cut in line. I'll need you to go to the back. This dollar store may suck, but it's my dollar store. She slams her basket on the floor and drags her crying kid out of the store. His petty revenge, not mine, but man it was fun to witness. The manager's last line was perfect. Agreed, if someone got pissy and was saying they need to open a new register, I would tell them to get a job there and open another register. More managers need to be like this and stop bending over backwards to cater to these types of people. You're right. That's why people keep acting this way. Someone will eventually cave to their shitty behavior. In England it's fine to have 5 or 10 people in a queue. We love a good queue and will quite happily natter to the people around us. But it isn't okay to natter on the train. It took me only a short while to realize this. Oh, sweat lord never. How very dare you. And if you use the tube, avoid eye contact at all costs. People are getting tired of Karen-type behavior. Just because you rant and rave you should not get your way. One day I'll very likely regret my actions considering how aggressive and violent society has become, but after dealing with a permanent disability for almost 20 years, I have zero fucks to give. I don't mumble about how rude people are anymore, I turn to them fully and address their poor behavior directly. Oh. And I also carry a very heavy cane to help with my stability, so just try to come at me. LMAO, it's truly astonished me how badly I've seen these usually minimum wage clerks being treated like they're lowly serfs whose only mission is to kowtow to these paragons of society. Per second. Bravo to this manager for showing that entitled bitch how little she truly matters in his scheme of things and just how much he values his employee and his other customers. I will also likely someday regret my actions, but nothing gets my back up quicker than someone being rude to an employee for something they have no control over. I was once on a shuttle to Disney, and a fully grown adult man started throwing a tantrum about having to wear a mask, using words like bullshit in front of the kids on the shuttle, then tried to come on the bus anyway while yelling at the driver. I planted myself in front of him, looked him in the eye, and said this is not his fault. He doesn't make the rules, and if you can't be bothered to read the signs all around us, it's not his fault you're unprepared. Most people don't expect others to stand up to them, and, like most people I confront, he backed off muttering. If I can use the privilege of being a fellow customer to defend an employee being berated, I'm going to do it. 99% of the time, people are going to back down when they see others don't agree with them. Oh, this video has come to an end. If you want more such cool stories, then go to one of the many following videos.